Hi, everyone. My name is Elena Featherstone, Head of Marketing and PR at Her Campus. We are back today with our second session of discussion with two of our 22 under 22 most inspiring college women of 2017. 22 under 22 is a list that Her Campus curates each year to recognize the most ambitious, talented, and forward-thinking college females from around the world. This past Tuesday, we discussed tools for empowerment and success, and today we will tackle how to turn experiences into action. Turning over to our moderator, Katie Speller, editor at Her Campus, to introduce our panelists.
Thanks, Elena. Hi there. She said, I'm Katie Speller, the news editor at Her Campus, and with me are our two esteemed panelists. They were selected for their vision, their drive, their inspirational work, and their names are Bee Doheny, who's the creator of Astrono Beads, and Lauren Brocious, creator and founder of You Define You project. Today, we're going to be talking about turning experiences into actions and how these young women turned their awesome, incredible, special creative spark ideas into longer-term sustainable projects. To get started, for both of you guys, I'd love to know just a little bit, how has your lived experiences, how have your personal stories influenced you to get involved and create your projects? We'll start with Bee.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to be here today. Thanks so much for having me on this panel. I'm so honored to be one of the 22 under 22 and help share my story with the world and hopefully inspire more people out there to also follow where their heart is. So a little bit about my story is really inspired by space. I'm really fascinated by the universe, and I'm also really creative. So these have been two things I've just always grown up with. And it all started as a hobby for me. I started creating space-themed jewelry during my senior year of high school. And then I went on to college at the University of Missouri, and I am a business marketing major. And I still always had my fascination of space and my creativity with me with whatever I did. And I kind of was coming through to a like fork in the road trying to figure out what I wanted to do my sophomore year of college. It's kind of a hard time in our lives to figure out what we want to do, and it can be troubling at some points. So my sophomore year was when I decided to bring back those bracelet ideas and start selling them online. So do an entrepreneurship professor on our campus, and he set me up with a mentor, me bring these ideas to life and start selling them online. Because it started as a hobby, and now I've created a jewelry line that is spreading different messages about our universe, combine so many of my passions, and also get business experience along the way. So I've been doing it for about a year and a half now. So I'm a senior in college, balancing this business life. And it's been really cool taking those initial ideas, action, and seeing where we are now with how far it's taken me so far.
It's awesome. And it's absolutely taking you so far. Your bracelets are so beautiful. Lauren, I'd love to jump in. How did you get here?
Yeah, absolutely. So hi, my name is Lauren, and I am a mass communications student at VCU, which is located in Richmond, Virginia. Are you able to hear me okay? Okay, great. And so one of the big things about me is that I have always been very passionate about working with other human beings. I've always loved I don't know, like just interacting with others. So my entire life, I was pretty much bullied. Like I definitely was taller than everybody else. I had a bigger frame than everyone else. And I just suffered through a lot of bullying growing up. And about my senior year, I decided that I wanted to kind of change things. So I had a friend that was being severely bullied. So I was like, you know what, like, I'm going to make a video on YouTube and just kind of private it, and I'm going to post it. And I didn't really have a lot of YouTube followers at the time. Like it was like maybe 100, and they were like all like close friends of mine. And so what I ended up doing is I posted this video, and I just wrote like with an eyeliner on my face, like negative words. I erased it with a makeup wipe, and then I like wrote positive words. So later I get this phone call from a local news outlet, and they were like, "Oh, like we'd love to interview you. Like we've seen like your video, like it'd be great." And then I get an email the next day from Cosmopolitan magazine, and they were like, "We saw your video," and like we're like they like sent me like the link like to the article that they wrote about me. So I ended up basically doing a 180. I'm from a small town in Virginia, and I ended up being, I had Steve Harvey called me. I was on the Today Show, like ABC News. I had a company from Germany called me, and I Skyped in from Germany, like online, just really, really cool things. With that being said, though, all of that recognition was super humbling, but at the same time, it was a lot to take in, because even though I would say 75% of people were very, very supportive, there's always that 25% that's not going to be. So I ended up spending a lot of time reading the negative comments, and I really let them get to my head. And I ended up getting really, really sick, and I was in and out of the hospital, and I would just go and read these negative comments. And about 2 weeks before my 18th birthday, I just decided that I had enough with who I was as a person. And I basically plotted my attempt for suicide. And so I was actually hospitalized down here at VCU. That's when I realized that I loved VCU. And so I went through help. I realized that I had depression, anxiety, PTSD, all these different medical and mental disorders. And so I decided that this is something that we don't talk about enough. My parents knew nothing about mental disorders. They knew nothing about anything like that. And so I was like, I'm going to take initiative. I was class president. I was a successful, I played 3 varsity sports. I wanted to take initiative. So that's why I started the You Define You project. So now basically what I do is I go out to Title I schools, and I talk about suicide prevention, anti-bullying, and mental health advocacy. And I go into specifically Title I schools because they don't receive a lot of funding. A lot of mental health programs stem upwards from $10,000 to more just to implement. And so if I can go in there and offer my services for free, and I can help save a life, that at the end of the day means the world to me.
Wow. That was such an amazing story. You've gone through so much. I'm already curious about, I bet it was so exciting, the 180 of you post the video, and then the next day, you're getting calls from ABC, Cosmopolitan, that's a lot to take in. I bet it was exciting, but then I just want to hear more about what was that like?
Yeah, so that was, I wish I could, I don't know. It's crazy to think about. I was 17 years old, and, my biggest priority at the time was finding a prom date to my senior prom.
Yeah.
And then to hear I'm from a very small town, a very, very small town, and then to hear all of a sudden Cosmopolitan, I had all these news outlets have my email, and they were like Daily Inside Edition, Lauren, can we email it, can we I don't know, I just felt like everybody knew my name.
And was it all organic? You didn't reach out to any of them, they found you?
So initially what happened was, so a lot of those news outlets did reach out to me. Yeah.
Wow.
So initially what happened was somebody tipped them, and then they emailed me. The local news did, and then I emailed them back. But then Cosmopolitan, and then they just all got a hold of my email. So it was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So
That is crazy. And you're right. You're just a 17-year-old and look at you on the news, like doing big things. It's amazing, but also like it can definitely take a toll on your mentality when you're trying to like live a normal life, but then also share these amazing mental illness awareness campaigns to the world. You just have such a big voice and all of your ideas need to be spread.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, definitely that's one thing I've learned is just, I think sometimes we want to take a back seat to certain situations and we don't want to necessarily speak out because we're afraid of the stigma that society is going to give us. And we're scared that we're going to be personified as weak or not enough or, something of that nature. But at the end of the day, I want everyone to realize that it's okay to get help. Here I am at 19 years old and, I still am learning to get my things together. I'm not saying by any means that I have my entire life together, but as far as my mental health, I do have it together, but I still have to go see a counselor and like talk to them. So like, it's okay to go see a counselor. It's okay to get medication. Like it's okay to not be okay. And that's what I want people to realize. So yeah, absolutely. Now I'm really curious about your beads. It's so cool. So I love space. So like what like was there like an initial like spark point that made you like just like want to create them?
I did take a course during my senior year of high school with one of my favorite teachers, and I also watched Cosmos by Neil deGrasse Tyson and the Carl Sagan version too. So I've always like loved stargazing too. I'm like a nerd and go to the planetarium for public telescope viewings. I love just asking people about what they're curious about when they look up at the sky. And there's so many things we don't know about, and it's kind of freaky, but kind of awesome to just wonder about. And I also just love the universal like connection of astronomy. It doesn't matter where you are on Earth, like what language you speak or what you believe, like space and astronomy unites us all because we're all here on this pale blue dot trying to figure it all out.
I love that.
So that's kind of my like passion and drive is like, I just love how astronomy connects and unites us all. And I guess like my spark to make my first bracelet is just this like, I love space and I wanted something on my wrist to always remind me of that bigger picture perspective that it holds. And so I went out and went to a bunch of bead shops and tried to find the beads that best represented each planet. And so this is one of my solar system bracelets. I'll stretch it out and show you. Yeah. So you stretch it out.
What the heck? I love it.
I'll have to send you one. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, and I love doing that. I love sending out bracelets too. Especially I'd love to send some to the 22 girls. And that'd be another great way to connect us all. But anyway, it's a great learning tool and it's trendy and fun to wear. So I gave them out as gifts actually at the beginning to my friends in high school. And I wrote a little note for graduation gifts that said, whenever you look down at your solar system bracelet, remember, I think you're out of this world. And that's kind of what got the ball rolling with it. And people liked it. So I just kept making them.
I love it. Oh my gosh. I love that so much.
Yeah. And actually, I was feeling very connected to what you were saying earlier about kind of the like viralness sometimes. I actually had a really famous astronaut post about my bracelets. His name's Scott Kelly.
Yes.
He was heard of him? Oh, cool. Yeah, he was in space for a full year. And I met him last October, so around this time. And he tweeted out my bracelets to his over 5 million followers. And don't get me wrong, like it was epic. Like I was beading away for a few weeks and it was so neat to meet him and have him believe in what I was doing and share it to that target market and really get the ball rolling all over the globe about getting awareness out. But it does take a toll sometimes. We're like, wow, can I do this? Can I fill these orders? And I know it's just me, but you're right. We kind of have that ambition and drive in us where we know this is this is something, and it's almost like a calling for us to do. And as you were speaking about being 17 and already being on the news, it's like a lot, but I feel like we have it in us to do it.
Yeah.
I actually have a question for you both, leaning off of that now. When we're talking about you guys doing something so deeply personal and giving that piece of yourself, whether it's your art, your bit of space, or your personal story, and challenging that stigma, for you guys, is it a nourishing thing to give that piece of yourself, or can it take a toll on you? I guess we'll start with Lauren.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you that when I first started doing this, when I first started going around, I had a really tough time. I had a really tough time. And I'm going to be 100% honest. There are some topics that I don't talk about. Like recently, I just started talking about it. It's still very fresh to me. I started talking about, like my experience with, like sexual assault, sexual abuse. That's a very rough subject for me to talk about because it's so fresh. It happened so recently. And some things hit home more than others. However, now I could share my story, and I share my story to others, and I feel like it really kind of makes an impact on other girls, and they realize like, oh wow, like you literally like were about to end your life, and look at you now. Like you were named like one of the top like 22 like most influential like college women. Like, like you have started a business of your own, and I want people to realize that like everything happens for a reason, and everything will work out the way it's supposed to. And to kind of give myself as a whole, and like you have to open yourself up, and you have to be vulnerable, and you have to realize that like you're gonna have those haters, and you're gonna have negative critiques, and you're gonna have a bunch of feedback, but you have to keep doing your thing, and you have to keep a positive attitude.
We're so grateful for your story too. Like you are giving a gift each time you tell it, and it's a brave thing, and it's a beautiful thing.
Thank you so much.
That just gives goosebumps. It's so true. Yeah, thank you for being so grateful and sharing it, because it is impacting so many lives.
Thank you.
As for, do you mind repeating the question real quick, Catherine?
Yeah. So no, of course. When you have such a personal gift that you're giving to people, including your art, including your story, these things, nourishing thing, or is it draining at times when you're filling these orders, when you're creating your art for people on such a large level?
Right. I do believe that like as I create art, I want every order or every connection I have to have that intention, and also be taking the time to really give them that one-on-one relationship, where I feel like when I pass along a bracelet, it also includes a message behind it, where the pale blue dot necklace reminds you of the cosmic perspective, or the earth, moon, and sun bracelets remind you that we are all connected, just like the earth, moon, and sun are all connected. So I love having that gift as an experience, and I want every customer to still get that feeling. I agree, it is personal at times, especially putting yourself out there like this. It's so rewarding, but also kind of nerve-wracking when everybody kind of knows what you've been up to, and you see somebody who you haven't seen in a while, and they're like, "Oh, B, how's it going?" And then second question is, "What's going on with Astrana beads?" Like, and I love talking about it, because like this is what I love doing. But it's just finding that perfect balance of when is it too much, and then when is it you kind of want to keep those things to yourself. So I would just say balance is kind of what I'm always working with.
Well, that actually leads into a question we have from our audience about, for both of you, what advice do you have for other college women who may for pursuing their dreams? They might be a little intimidated doing what you're doing. What kind of advice could you give them? Balance is one.
Yeah, I can also jump off of that just a teensy bit more. I started everything as a hobby, and I had no idea taken off this much, and look at me a year and a half later, still chugging along, sharing my story with the world. And I think that goes to really listening to yourself and following what gives you joy. That's probably one of the best pieces of advice, because people say the quote, like, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I think that does speak a lot to, I don't know, finding what you really love doing and how can you create something from that that will help push you forward in the right direction. There's actually a quote by Abe Lincoln that says, like, the best way to predict the future is to create it. And so I think that's kind of a cool way for, like, you have all the power and you can create something now that if it's something you love, I feel like all it can do is build you up and grow you up even more.
So true. Good advice.
I love that. Oh my gosh. I like want to like get that and like put that all over my walls. Like, like that's awesome. Yeah, I think going off of what B said, I think my advice would be, if you're so passionate about something, just go ahead and do it. Like, if you are passionate about something, what's stopping you? No one should stop you. Nobody should hold you back, because if you're passionate and you love something, go full force with it. Like, I think that one of the things I was so scared about with just doing this project and doing this charity is, well, what are other people going to say about me? Am I going to be vulnerable to negative feedback? And at the end of the day, you learn to not care about what other people have to say. You learn that it's just feedback and it's not, you learn to power through it. You learn to be stronger. You learn to be kind of a kick-ass woman. And I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but you learn to be, you learn to basically do, I can't even put it into words, but it's just this experience where you learn not to care and just to be so passionate about something. And no one's going to stop you. So I guess my advice is, do not be scared, because at the end of the day, like, everything is going to work out for a reason. Everything's going to happen for a reason. But definitely go for it. That's all I can say. Go for it. Who cares what other people have to say? If you're passionate about it, that's all that matters.
Amen.
Amen. Yeah, retweet. That was good.
So we have another question from our audience. They want to know what the biggest risk you've taken and what did you learn from it?
I don't know. I'll dive in. Honestly, I would say the biggest risk is that initial, these are all of my passions and this idea, I'm going to freaking run with it and let's see what happens. And it was kind of risky because, like, I'm dealing with other people's money and, like, I might be getting orders and I don't know if I can fill it sometimes, where there is some unknowns involved in running with your ideas. But the biggest takeaway is, I mean, look at us. We're all so young. You're 19, Lauren. I'm 21. And Catherine, how old are you? Or
don't worry about it. I'm 25. Let's not talk about it.
No, guys, we're just in our 20s or in our teens. Hey, we're all still young. So I'm saying, like, we've got the whole rest of our lives ahead of us. Might as well, like, test these ideas now, learn even more about ourselves and what we're capable of. And I think that's the biggest reward out of it all, is just with yourself, and you're doing what you love by testing out your ideas.
I love that. Yeah. Like, I think you should become a motivational speaker. I think that's your.
Oh gosh. Well, I don't know.
You have to come join me on this.
I'm down. Let's do a panel together, a conference somewhere.
Let's do it.
It happened here. It happened live first with Her Campus. Wow. I'm so honored.
Yeah, come on over to Missouri.
Watch these minds meet. So I have one more question I just want to dive into a little bit about. You've both talked about the vulnerability and the toll it can take at times to put yourself out there in this way. What are your self-care tactics? What do you do to make sure you can keep the tank full and keep going?
So with that being said, obviously a huge part of what I do is mental health. I run a mental health organization. So it's incredibly important to make sure that your mental health is stable. So with that being said, it's very, very difficult, the society we live in, to um, turn off your computer, to turn off your phone, because we're constantly checking Twitter. We're constantly seeing what other people have to say. We're constantly like wanting to watch the news. It's super important to take some time, turn off the computer, power down the cell phone, and breathe. Because at the end of the day, this does not define who you are as a person. You define you.
Amen. Wow. Keep going.
And so, no, you're fine. So, definitely one thing that I would have to say is just make sure that you are taking some time to spend away from technology. Take a bath, go exercise, read, write. If you're religious affiliated, go pray. Take some time to be with friends. But definitely, I would just recommend turning off that phone, turning off that social media, because at the end of the day, I think people have this expectation of who they are on social media versus an expectation of who they are in person. And you really want to make sure that you are meeting both those expectations and being the same person on social media.
Yeah, I would love to bounce off of that. And I after you asked that question, I wrote down some self-care things that came first to my mind. And first was unplug and breathe. Like, breathing is so important. It really helps you get back in tune with yourself and see what you're feeling in that moment, and kind of creating a game plan after that. My next thing, when you mentioned like hang out with friends or hang out with people, as we're having this conversation, like, I'm just feeling so energized, and I feel like both of your energies are so contagious, where I'm like, oh, I can go out and do that. I'm so empowered. So really surrounding yourself with the right positive energy and those people that really want to lift you up, I feel like that is so important, finding your like tribe of people in that way. And I also love just going outside when I am really overwhelmed and just trying to be at one with nature. That's really calming. And yeah, I feel like those are some good tips for getting started.
Those are both, you guys have made an awesome list. I really hope that our audience takes that to heart, because those are so important to be able to do the amazing work like what you're doing. It's really incredible. And we're about at the end of our time, but you are both so incredible, and I'm so grateful for your stories and your conversation and your energy. To our thank you so much for tuning in. We absolutely love you. You can check out more about Bee and about Lauren and the rest of their sisters in the 2017 22 under 22 nominees at the website 22under22.hercampus.com. They're all incredible. I hope you go on your own projects and take the lead from them. They're absolutely incredible. Thank you again, Bee Doheny of Astronobeads, and Lauren
Thanks, everyone.
of You Define You. All right, thank you guys.